Okay. All right. I think I finally did it. Today has been a chore when it comes to technology. And I'm 22 years old, and it's just like nothing can go right. So I apologize for all the confusion. I also acknowledge I need a haircut pretty bad. I'm starting to look like, I don't know, Jimmy Neutron or something out here. Whew, yeah, okay. I think we're good to go now. Let me know in the chat how things look, if you can hear me all right. Looks like my camera likes to keep cutting out right now, so it might be one of those days. Okay, why is it doing that? Just give me a second, guys. I apologize. This is a mess today. Okay, 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay, I think everything's fine. I don't know what's going on. I'll have to keep an eye on that if it continues to cut out or whatever. But let's try and get into this with all these technical difficulties. Devil must be knocking on my door today. I apologize. Thanks for everybody for coming out. We hit 30,000 subscribers not long ago. We're already knocking on the door of 31,000. So if you are new here or returning not yet subscribed, please subscribe down below. We're going to talk about CleanSpark, obviously, in this live stream. We're going to talk about the insider selling that's taken place recently, the expansion that they're planning, and maybe we'll talk about some Bitcoin halving stuff as well. If you guys don't mind, please hit the like button for me. Helps me out tremendously. Hopefully these technical difficulties go away, because this has been pretty frustrating. But yeah, feel free to type in the chat whenever if you have questions or comments that you want to add. Let me know. But crossing my fingers, it's all going to work. Let's go over to the Google Chrome. And this was my tweet this morning. I'm going to make sure this pops up on the screen for everybody because we're not sure today with technology. I think it's gonna work. So I'm just gonna start talking. This morning I made a tweet that said the CleanSpark CEO offloaded around 20% of his CleanSpark position. And these sales are the first time he's sold to my knowledge. And that's actually accurate. You know, over the last week or so, he's sold 2 tranches. And they've been pretty big tranches. It's been 20% of his total position. But this is the first time he actually has hit the sell button. And there were times when they were forming CleanSpark where he and Matt, especially, I know, went without salaries. And I just asked everybody's opinions on this, and there were a lot of opinions. 51 comments, 51,000 views on this tweet. I guess you can call it a tweet still, even though it's not Twitter. First of all, if you have thoughts on this, let me know in the chat, and I'll get to those later. But I'll cover kind of my thoughts here. And it echoes what I think a lot of you think as well. That there's nothing wrong with taking some profits. A lot of this stock that they acquired was back in 2020 or 2022, or 2020 or 2022, in that time period. And during that time period, if you've been following CleanSpark stock, you know that even when the stock hit $40 in 2021, the executive team didn't sell. So similar to me, I was buying CleanSpark years ago for $2-3 a share. I wrote it up to $40 a share. I did sell some to help pay for college, but not all of it. And then it went back down to $2, and I bought some more when it was at $2. So I'm actually in a very similar situation to these executives, just with my buying and selling behavior. And honestly, I don't see this as an issue just because they've never sold before. And just really, it's 20% of his total position, which, yeah, it's a lot. Like this sale today was $9 million. That's a lot of money. I'd like to have $9 million all of a sudden, right? It's tax season. At a certain point, it's okay to take some gains. And, you know, personally, I think CleanSpark stock's going to continue to go higher, and maybe he'll regret selling this early. But what people don't realize is actually something Matthew Schultz clarified, which this is part of the reason I think CleanSpark always trades at a premium to other stocks, especially other Bitcoin stocks. He posted this: just for your Gee Whiz file, the info below discusses the 10B51 strategy. Sounds complicated. Last year, he picked a price range and a date. His birthday, Zachary Bradford's birthday, was yesterday to my knowledge. And basically, It meant if the shares were trading at or above certain levels, he would sell some in this safe harbor. And then he goes on to say, when you're buying companies and growing at this rate, you're really seldom in an open period without MNPI. MNPI is material non-public information. That's what that stands for. So this is a mechanism used by many public companies. And this was really good transparency. And again, this is a reason CleanSpark trades at a premium. Transparency, 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 execution, efficiency. It just, all of this together, there's a reason why CleanSpark trades richly compared to the other stocks. When you have transparency and when you execute, when you have efficiency, it makes sense. It's happened this way in every other industry that's ever existed. Companies that have transparency, efficiency, execution are the ones that trade at a premium. So I think this is appropriate. And even though, yeah, CleanSpark's trading a little bit rich, I've talked about this before, I think it's going to perform great still. I think it will. I think it could continue to be the best performing Bitcoin-related investment out there. You know, it was by far the best returning asset in 2023. And so far in 2024, they're the only Bitcoin mining stock that's positive year to date, I think. And it's up. Actually, I should just look so I don't give you false information. It's up 79% year to date. It's the only one that has outperformed Bitcoin itself, which says a lot. And by the way, if you guys are CleanSpark shareholders or you're big into Bitcoin, I highly suggest you to join my membership. You can do that by visiting my Patreon or hit the join button located right next to the subscribe button. It's been growing like crazy. I think I provide a ton of value there, and I have not yet had any complaints with it. It's the cheapest one out there. If you're not into the Discord scene, and I don't just post stuff about CleanSpark, but I post all my other buys and sells, my macroeconomic analysis, my market direction, things like that. If you're not into the Discord scene, though, in the description below is a new partner of mine, Savvy Trader. You can see how my portfolio performs throughout time. I've been searching for a way to prove it instead of just telling you what I've done in the past, and Savvy Trader makes the most sense. So check that out. The link down there gives you like a 50% discount, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think so. Anyways, back to this. So they set up a 10b5-1 trading strategy, which means beforehand, because they're very seldom in an open period without material non-public information, this is a way that company executives can either buy or sell stock at a specific date and maybe at a specific price, which is what Zachary Bradford's done here. And it's a way to take your non-public knowledge out of the trades you're making, because it's illegal to make trades on insider knowledge that's not public information for obvious reasons, right? So this was a pre-planned sell, and so was the one a couple weeks ago. And that even decreases my concern about this more. Obviously, it always feels like a stab in the back when you have insiders selling shares of stock you own. So take this with a grain of salt, but it is nice to have this sort of transparency from the company itself. No other Bitcoin mining company out there would go to this level of transparency. None of them. They would hit the sell button, and if investors had questions about it, they just ignore them. They wouldn't answer it. So it's really nice to have a guy like Matthew Schultz, and honestly just a management team in general that's transparent with shareholders. And I think you guys in the chat probably echo that as well. So there was that. I'm not concerned about the insider selling because I believe in Bitcoin long-term, and Bitcoin itself is much more powerful than the CleanSpark management team, if that makes sense. Even if the CleanSpark management team is selling their shares of stock and maybe they're questioning the longevity of Bitcoin or the ability for it to appreciate in price more, I think Bitcoin's more powerful than any individual or management team out there. And if the price of Bitcoin goes up over time like I think it will, CleanSpark's going to perform really well. And I think these executives might end up regretting selling this early. Knock on wood, no guarantee. Obviously, Bitcoin mining stocks are extremely volatile. Extremely. So yeah, there's that. I'll maybe cycle back to this in a little bit. Let me know if you have questions, comments, concerns about this in the chat, and I will cycle back to it. I might even pull up my CleanSpark price target spreadsheet in this video. I haven't done that in a while. That also is made available to my paid monthly members. I probably will do that later because we're going to talk about the Bitcoin halving event a little bit. Anyways, let's talk about CleanSpark's expansion. So they've laid out this road to 50 exahash per second, which would basically put them in line with the largest Bitcoin mining company. and it wouldn't even be close. But between 1 and 2 and the rest of the pack. By the end of 2025, I think is what they mean here when they say 25. By the end of 2025, they expect, or they have the ability to reach 50 exahash per second. With CleanSpark, the issue is, and it's not just a CleanSpark problem, it's all these companies, the issue is finding the infrastructure for it. There's only so many data centers out there. There's only so many data centers that have been built. There's only so many facilities that can house and rack Bitcoin mining rigs, right? So that's the issue here. That's the risk here. Maybe it's not CleanSpark's ability to execute. Maybe it's just a simple lack of resources available in the industry and in the network that will make this 50 exahash per second more challenging than some people think to reach. CleanSpark has made projections in the past, and just like every other Bitcoin mining company, unfortunately, they haven't hit those projections. I wish this industry was a little better with their projections and actually hitting those projections. Maybe as the industry matures, we'll reach that point, which I think will be really good for everybody, stockholders, Wall Street, potential lenders. We want predictability, and the volatility with Bitcoin, with these stocks, with their ability to execute based on what market cycle we're in, which, by the way, is 100% unpredictable. It's really challenging, and as a potential lender or somebody that wants to invest in this industry, it's very risky because of that, right? You don't want to invest or lend a bunch of money at the top, and then all of a sudden you're at significant risk of losing your capital by doing so. We need this market to normalize. I think it will. Last cycle, these Bitcoin mining stocks lost like 95% of their value on average. I don't think we're ever going to see that again for multiple reasons. I've talked about this in the past. But institutional adoption is still really young. There's a lot of institutional capital that is yet to come into this industry that will. And also you have this learning curve that a lot of people aren't considering, where, last bull cycle, there were a lot of companies, not to name names, that got way ahead of their skis, purchased mining rigs at the top of the market that ended up losing a ton of value because Bitcoin went down. You had lenders and banks and unions, I guess you could say, that lent money to this industry at the market top, which ultimately ended up causing bankruptcies and write-offs of bad debt. You had hosting providers, which hosting, I think, is kind of a dying business. You have to own your infrastructure in this industry, but you had hosting providers go bankrupt because they guaranteed a certain amount of uptime. And then all of a sudden, energy prices soared, but they guaranteed uptime at a certain price per power, right? And if the price of energy goes up and they guarantee 97% uptime, well, then all of a sudden they're losing money on their hosting business, right? Because energy costs have gained, but they guaranteed that they would have 97% uptime. These are things in a young industry you learn every cycle, and these are things that I trust, I think, this industry has learned over the past few years. And as a result of this, I think the 90% drawdowns in these stock prices is coming to an end. You have more and more experience coming into this space, more and more knowledge. People just understand this space a little bit better. So the amount of bad debt deals out there going way down, in my opinion. All of these things add up to a more normalized market where Bitcoin mining stocks don't lose 95% of their value. I know some people might disagree with me. I seem to be the only one on social media that is, I would die on this mountain saying that the price of Bitcoin is completely unpredictable. You have people that think they're so knowledgeable because they've made so much money recently in Bitcoin, and they look at the previous cycles of Bitcoin and how they overlap and how they're similar to each other. God, you can't do that. You just can't do that. That's like my biggest pet peeve. If a market is 100% predictable, and I've said this before too, I apologize if you're hearing me make this claim for the third or fourth or fifth time, but if the price of an asset is 100% predictable based on history, you know what everybody's going to do? They're going to front run that price action which renders this perfectly predictable price action perfectly unpredictable because everybody is front running it. We've already seen this happen this cycle. We hit a new all-time high with Bitcoin before the halving even took place. That wasn't supposed to happen according to all these social media Bitcoin influencers, but guess what? It did. It did, because this is unpredictable. There is no cycle that is 100% predictable, and people gave me crap the other day on a Twitter space saying that I'm investing in Bitcoin mining stocks for the long term. They thought I was crazy. I don't think I'm crazy. I think it's been a young industry without much business pedigree on management teams. There have been a lot of catalysts. There's been a huge learning curve. And as we've advanced in this space, I think the floor of the space is going up, if that makes sense. And as a result, the floor of these Bitcoin mining stocks is also going up. And I think if Bitcoin hits $1 million, let's say by the year 2030, I think CleanSpark could be $1,000 stock. And that upside is just not upside I want to risk missing out on if I'm trying to time the tops and bottoms of this Bitcoin cycle that is supposedly 100% predictable. That's bullcrap, by the way. Don't ever believe that. If somebody says that, I would unfollow them immediately because they do not understand markets at all. Anyways, I seem to be the only one preaching that, so maybe I'm wrong. And the other thing is with markets, there's so much you can't predict, right? There's so much you can't predict. Whether it's God forbid, another pandemic. What if that happens tomorrow? Well, you can't look at previous Bitcoin cycles and decide where the price of Bitcoin is going to go if some black swan like that happens again. I think it's a losing strategy, to be honest with you. I think this industry is still at a young stage, but it's maturing, and as it matures, the floor of Bitcoin and the floor of the Bitcoin mining stocks is going to keep going up and up and up and up. And right now, let's get back to the expansion. I went on a little bit of a bird walk. Right now, the market is rewarding expansion. I did the research, and partially thanks to H.C. Wainwright, who gives me access to some of their research reports. I don't know why they do that. I'm extremely blessed by everybody that's in my circle. But according to them and some of the other research I've done, it costs roughly $25 million right now to add 1 exahash per second of mining capacity to your operation. $25 million. It's $9 million for infrastructure and $16 million for mining rigs. The market right now is assigning $125 million of market value to every single exahash per second of mining power a company has right now. I think this is something that's going to slowly change as we mature as well, but this is it's a very attractive situation right now for these Bitcoin mining companies to want to expand because they make an investment of $25 million and their market value of their company goes up $125 million. Literally a 5x on their investment. I know there's a lot of variables at play. I know it's not a one-to-one comparison, but that's the way it is right now. $125 million of market value for every 1 exahash per second of mining power you have, which costs $25 million to deploy. And you also have had the fact that the price of Bitcoin has gone up very, very quickly from, we were at $20,000 not long ago. All of a sudden, it's $65,000. And some of these companies and some of these Bitcoin mining operators that thought, we might go bankrupt after the halving event, the switch has flipped. They're going to stay operational at current price of Bitcoin. The average all-in cost to mine Bitcoin right now of all of the companies is $42,000. And that also is what makes investing in these companies such an interesting investment opportunity. If me or you, or MicroStrategy, even the Bitcoin ETFs, if they want to go out and acquire Bitcoin, they have to pay market price for it. And actually sometimes above market price because nobody's selling their Bitcoin right now. Well, these Bitcoin mining companies are essentially acquiring Bitcoin for what would that be? A 30%, 35% discount because their all-in cost of mining is $42,000 per coin. And that's based off of post-halving numbers, by the way. Post-halving, $42,000 per coin. So they're acquiring Bitcoin at a significant discount. which is why you're always going to have Bitcoin miners be a leveraged play to Bitcoin itself. I think moving forward, what the market, again, as this industry matures, I think what's going to happen is the market is going to quit rewarding these enormous growth projections that companies put out there as much. They'll still be rewarded for it, but they're going to start rewarding the execution, the efficiency, the overall efficiency of your mining fleet, your margins on your Bitcoin mining. I think that stuff, your margins per 1 exahash per second of mining capacity, if that makes sense. That stuff I think is going to start to matter even more to the markets, because in this space, unfortunately, the small get squashed and the big get bigger, right? And if you have really good margins on your Bitcoin that you mine, it adds a margin of safety to this very volatile industry. So when you look at a CleanSpark, their average power cost is 4.5 cents per kilowatt hour, I think. It's actually probably in this investor presentation. I'll see if I can find it. I'm sure it's, here we go. 4.5 cents, 4.4 cents essentially. Power rates as low as 1.5 cents, but on average 4.4 cents of power cost. So when you look at companies like CleanSpark, and this again I think is why it's trading at a premium, and you look at companies like CIFR, which if you didn't catch my Twitter post the other day, I could bring it up here in a second. I'm actually looking into buying CIFR as my first and only diversification, I guess you could say, away from CleanSpark. I think those two commingle so well together, and I think it gives you a well-rounded exposure to Bitcoin itself. And honestly, I said it in my tweet, I think some sort of merger or acquisition between those two companies would be a dream come true. Probably not going to happen, but if it does happen, remember who said it here, right? But I am very bullish on CleanSpark, and I'm very bullish on CIFR, because both of these companies have tremendous execution. CIFR Mining has the best margin on their Bitcoin mined. Their problem is their mining fleet isn't as efficient, but that's changing by the day as they replace older generation miners with newer generation miners. But man, these two companies could mesh so well. I hope some sort of merger acquisition happens there. Knock on wood. I don't own a position of CIFR Mining yet. If we get a dip, I will be buying though. I'll say that now. And again, if you want my buy and sell alerts, join the membership by hitting the join button or hit my Patreon link, or go to my Savvy Trader link in the description below. That's a new partner of mine. Looks like we got a new member, Andre. Welcome to the membership. Welcome, Andre. That's awesome. So yeah, I think, as we move forward, like I just said, the market's going to start rewarding these margins, efficiencies, execution, much more than this growth or overall capacity like Marathon has, right? That's part of the reason you've seen Marathon stock struggle, especially this year, and even throughout 2023. It didn't struggle in 2023, but it underperformed. Marathon's down 9% year to date. CleanSpark's up 80% year to date. There's a reason for that, folks, and it's because Marathon hasn't executed. They don't have the transparency that CleanSpark's management team has. They've set extraordinary projections, which someday maybe they'll be able to hit. And when they do, watch out. Watch out. Marathon could be a great buying opportunity right now. But in the past, they have been the worst oh my gosh, I need a drink of water. The worst operators. They've had the worst efficiency. They've had the worst execution. They haven't had good margins. They're trying to do all these different things with their business now and add revenue streams to their business model. They're confusing the market. They haven't even mastered the art of Bitcoin mining, and they're trying to be a jack of all trades now. And again, this is going to separate Marathon. It remains to be seen in a good or bad way. So far, it's been bad, but it's going to separate them from the rest of the pack. Right now, the Bitcoin ETFs and the Bitcoin mining stocks, except Marathon, are the only pure play leveraged Bitcoin investments you can get. Marathon is no longer a pure play investment on Bitcoin. It might remain leveraged, but usually when you're no longer a pure play, your leverage comes down. And Marathon could very well underperform the rest of the sector for here on out, unless they come up with some new revenue stream that really makes it big. But so far, none of the stuff they've announced has really interested me that much, I guess. And it just is, they're going to struggle until they can operate. They can't operate right now. So this is a huge risk with Marathon that you don't have with CleanSpark and you don't have with CIFR, for example. The market is rewarding this. It has rewarded this over the last year. CleanSpark's up 580%. Tremendous return. That's because of the things I've mentioned. I don't need to keep naming them, but CleanSpark can execute, man. They're transparent. They do everything right, and there's a reason they're trading at a premium. And just because they're trading at a premium doesn't mean that their stock has to underperform to rematch with the rest of the industry. It also doesn't mean that the other stocks are undervalued compared to CleanSpark, because there might be a good reason why they're undervalued and they're not commanding that same premium that CleanSpark has, right? So keep that in mind. This cycle, I've said it in the past, it's the same thing with Bitcoin and SHIT coins. The crappier the company, the better it's probably going to perform in bull markets, especially when we get to the stages of euphoria. That's just the way it works, because the riskier the investment, the better it performs. It's just the way beta works in markets, right? Maybe I don't expect CleanSpark to be the number one performing stock. They've had their run. Maybe they'll cool off a little bit. I still expect they're going to perform really well for investors, but they're a very high quality company. So there is money to be made in the crappy mining companies. You know, those penny stocks that nobody talks about. It's very similar to Bitcoin compared to I'll just say it, shit coins. That might be the first time I've cussed on this YouTube channel. There's a reason for that. It's going to remain that way, but you know what? I don't want to get greedy. I don't see any point in buying the more risky Bitcoin mining companies, because I'm already heavily invested into CleanSpark, which, despite it operating well and despite its efficiencies and margins and execution, remains a very risky investment. It does, because Bitcoin is risky. So I'm already invested into a leveraged play on an asset that is very volatile and risky. Why would I want to add even more risk to that? You know, you're going to see this time and time again. It happens every single time. People are going to chase the shit coins. They're going to chase the crap miners, and they're going to make a killing. They're not going to sell, and they're going to lose all their money. It happens every single time. There's going to be a bunch of new projects out there, new cryptocurrencies out there that are all this scuttlebutt, but they end up being scams and insider enrichment schemes and stuff like this. I'm just saying, be careful, because that's the next stage of this rally. When we reach that stage, it's time to acknowledge we might be reaching the top. But I think we're very far from it. Again, institutional adoption is low. I personally think, just based on what the Fed is saying, I don't agree with their policy decisions. I'll have a video out on this soon. But based on what they're saying, we might have another bubble very similar to 2021. The Fed is basically saying they're going to make the first rate cut that is non-recessionary in history, essentially. I really worry about this, because you look at asset prices, you look at home prices, you look at the price of oil, you look at the price of Bitcoin, you look at all-time stock market prices, all-time high stock market prices. We're already really elevated with assets. And you know what happens when you increase liquidity in the system even more by cutting rates? Asset inflation goes right back up. And you know what asset inflation creates? Renewed price inflation. And the price of oil is going up. That's something we don't have much control over. Oh boy, watch out. I'm going to make this claim now. If the Fed follows through with 3 rate cuts this year, despite the economy remaining really hot and asset prices remaining high, we're going to enter a melt up and a bubble in the stock market, and probably in the market for Bitcoin as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can make a ton of money in a short amount of time with a melt up or a bubble. But the problem is timing the top, because you could sell out thinking it's the top, and then you'll miss out on another 50% gain. Or you'll completely mistime the top, and then all of a sudden bad news hits and markets are down 20% in a day. Just think back to 2020, right? It's very difficult to time the top of a melt up or a bubble. I think that's kind of the way we're trending right now. I'm optimistic the Fed isn't oblivious to this, but Powell's presser was very, very dovish. And man, yeah, I just think we're going to enter a phase that is very difficult to navigate. If you thought the last few years were difficult to navigate with Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners and these other stocks and the stock market as a whole, get ready for the next 12 months because there are so many factors at play here. Asset inflation, rate cuts, how many and when will they happen? I personally think we're going to see the maximum of 2 rate cuts if the Fed has their head screwed on straight. But man, we could form another bubble really quickly, and it could be painful on the other side of it. So I'm just going to say that, and I'll say it now. Just be ready for that. I'm going to do my best to identify that and share it with you on this channel and in the members-only Discord server. But this is going to be difficult to navigate. I want to say that again. I'll have a video out on this really, really soon. Okay. I think I'm caught up now on everything I wanted to mention. We've went on some bird walks, which is completely fine. Price of Bitcoin is at 63,000 right now. I'll go to the Bitcoin strategy platform. This is how you can see Bitcoin ETF inflows and outflows. I go to the ETF tracker here at the top, and here you go. So, no surprise, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm guessing today as well, you've actually had outflows with Bitcoin ETFs, which is a little bit surprising, right? A lot of this has been Grayscale. You can see that at the top. It's been Grayscale. Eventually, Grayscale is going to sell the Bitcoin they need to sell. Things are going to normalize, and the buying pressure is going to far outweigh the selling pressure again, which is going to inflate the price of Bitcoin naturally. Nobody's selling. There's a lot of demand right now. I'm keeping my eye on it. I think markets in general are close to a top. You know, you had the big NVIDIA AI event recently, and NVIDIA only went up 1%. That's telling that a lot of good news is priced into the markets right now. And then Powell's really dovish presser just a couple days ago. Really, that hasn't moved markets that much either. And those two events were some of the best good news that we could even ask for, right? For markets and for valuations of companies and the price of Bitcoin going up. We've priced in a lot of good news. I think a short-term top is soon. But ultimately, just based on what the Fed's doing, I think we're going to be in for quite a while yet with this bull market. I'll just say that. So keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on the Bitcoin ETF inflows and outflows. This is going to normalize again. Sure, the amount of Bitcoin that's going to be mined post-halving is going to be cut in half. Not a concern. By the way, I'm going to have a panel of Bitcoin mining executives on my channel. So far, I have CleanSpark, CIFR, Iris Energy, and Cathedra signed up, or they've expressed interest, so I think they're in for it. And I've sent messages to other companies as well, so we'll see if they join me for that panel discussion about the Bitcoin halving event. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. It'll take place live on this channel. I'll also simulcast it to X, but I'm really looking forward to that, having those executives on my channel. Okay, let me get to the chat here. Let's see. Okay. Do I have any tangible view on Riot and Mara and their price? I talked about Marathon a little bit. Riot, it's the same thing. They seem to be really in the weeds with regulation, and they seem to have, I don't want to call it an issue, but they're choosing to sell energy credits back to the grid and take in revenue that way versus mining Bitcoin, which maybe makes sense short term, but if the price of Bitcoin keeps appreciating, the opportunity cost of that is unmeasurable, literally. I just think there's better options out there other than Riot and other than Marathon. That's just my opinion. Do I think it could be a good investment now? Yeah, but it's also, you have a lot of strings attached with Riot. that you just don't have with CleanSpark and CIFR. And that's why I prefer those companies right now. Kevin asked, will I hold CleanSpark during the bear market? Absolutely. I talked about that a little bit, but again, there is zero. Yes, we're going to have a bear market again at some point in time, but when people talk about this inevitable bear market that's coming, it's not inevitable. We could go on. We could be. The next phase of this melt up in the stock market could last years, and we might not see a bear market until then. So unlike other influencers with Bitcoin, I'm not counting on seeing a bear market sometime soon, right? And I've kind of talked about that as well, but it's just, and the opportunity cost of potentially missing out on my gains if Bitcoin does reach 1 million by 2030, CleanSpark stock, regardless of bear markets, is going to perform very well in any scenario. I have patience, and that's something that I pride myself on. I buy companies, I buy stocks when nobody else wants them, and I know they're high-quality companies. Think CleanSpark when I was buying at $2. More recently, it's been PayPal stock and Tesla stock. I want these companies. Give me them. I want them as many shares as I possibly can get my hands on. And if we get another bear market, I don't care. It's another opportunity to buy more if I want to buy more. So it's like trying to time these bear markets and bull markets and potentially missing out on gains. Timing markets has never been the answer. You can look at any statistics you want. It's never been the answer. It's always been a losing strategy. If you try and time the markets, you're going to underperform the markets. That's a guarantee, an absolute guarantee. And I don't know why people try and be the exception, because so far there hasn't been an exception, and the stock market's been around for how many years now? Chances are there's never going to be an exception to that. Okay, next question. What exahash do you think we will top out for 2024 for CleanSpark and total exahash? Let me get my CleanSpark price target spreadsheet pulled up here. And I can show you what my projections show if this will load. Again, I've been having technical difficulties today. Okay, it looks like it's popping up. Is this the one I want? Okay, no. I think this is the one I want. I'll pull it up on the screen if this is the one I want. Gosh dang it. I can't win today. Okay. Well, let me try this one. Okay, I think I got it here. Let me flip my screen to Excel. Thank you guys for your patience. While you're waiting, hit the subscribe button for me. Okay, let me see if this is going to pop up for me now. I think it will. Okay, so not what I want. Here we go. Year-end 2024, I have CleanSpark hitting 33 exahash per second. I think they'll get there. They still... Is this popping up for you guys? It's not. Okay, again, I can't win with technology. Today has been rough with technology. Let me get this figured out. Can't be too hard, right? And if it doesn't pop up, I'll just kind of talk you through it. I think it should pop up. I'll talk you through it, though, if it doesn't. So 33 exahash per second is what I have for my projection for CleanSpark for 2024. Yeah, I can see the screen is black. I'm hoping I can get this popped up here. Man, technology is making me a little upset today. Okay, let me try this again. Add a... What do I want? Screen capture? No. Media source? Nope, not what I want either. Hang on, guys. Sorry about this. Okay. Oh, yeah. I want a screen capture. Okay. Maybe it's not what I want. Display. Window. Is this what I want? No. Application. No. Okay. Well, it's not going to pop up. So I'll talk you through it just with my face up here. 33 exahash per second is what I have for CleanSpark by the end of 2024. And I think they'll hit that. That would have them commanding about 6% of the total Bitcoin network. So obviously they're going to, if they continue to execute and acquire infrastructure, acquire mining rigs, they're going to, like I said, the bigger are going to get bigger, the smaller are going to get squashed. And I think CleanSpark, I have them by 2030. You guys can't see this again. I apologize. By 2030, I have them hitting 9% of the total Bitcoin mining network. Let's see. Next question here. Do you teach in your Discord, such as how to determine what are good narrative and stocks to look at buying at different points of times or something? Yeah, absolutely. I always post in my Discord server like what I'm overweight. Like right now I'm overweight oil and energy, which I know that's a different industry, but right now I'm overweight those because I think they perform well in any market. Let me pull up. You guys won't see this again, but I'll pull up just briefly what I said about oil stocks here. I think I posted it in deep dives. Yeah, okay. So I said, I think going long energy is a good idea right now. Energy has been an underperforming sector, and it is a hedge against geopolitical risks, and it should also benefit if the global economy picks up. So any two directions, which are the most likely directions, geopolitical risks increase or the global economy picks up. Oil and energy should do well. Okay. If Bitcoin goes to 100,000 after halving, what percent gains would you expect across the miners, in my opinion? So again, I apologize. I can't pull this up on the screen because technology hates me today. And I wish I could show you. If you go back to my most recent CleanSpark video, you should see it. And I'll have another video on CleanSpark out shortly, so stay tuned for that. By the end of 2024, I have the fair value for CleanSpark at $43.71. And then my numbers for 2025 are $57.76. So maybe by the end of 2024, I see the stock being $50, which from the current price, let's just call it $20, would be, I can't do math in my head right now. I'm flustered. 2.5 times gain, basically a double up and more of the current share price of around $20, whereas Bitcoin in that scenario would not be doubling up. So I think miners are going to continue to outperform Bitcoin, obviously. Xavier says, how much is CleanSpark making from transaction fees per quarter on average? I don't have those numbers. That's something that I will ask in my my panel discussion with the other Bitcoin mining executives. I'm going to have them talk about transaction fees and the opportunity there, etc. I think I'm going to end this stream now, guys, since I'm having some technical difficulties. Thank you all for coming out. Again, make sure you subscribe. If you're new here, returning not yet subscribed. I'm already knocking on the door of 31,000 subscribers, which is awesome. Join my membership by hitting the join button right next to the subscribe button. Go to my Patreon link. I'll post that on the replay of this. If you missed part of this stream and you want to rewatch it, go ahead. It'll be up for replay. Go to my Savvy Trader link in the description below to track my portfolio. You can see my performance in a chart over time. It's really the prove it method. You can also get my buy and sell alerts through there. 50% off there. Have a great rest of the day. Stay blessed. Sorry this was a little bit of a frustrating experience for me today with technology. Didn't think I'd have this many issues, but hope your March Madness brackets, if you've been participating in that, have done well. Mine's okay. It's above average. But with that, hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay blessed. Keep 10 toes to the ground and your chin up.